Hey, I have a second channel. Cube Comp MTDX.
Hey everybody. So this video I'm going to talk about why it's important that if you want a desktop computer that will last you for many years and you can easily upgrade to keep it relevant for a long time, why it's important that you go with a custom built computer and not go with a brand name system like an HP or a Dell. So used to be back about 10-15 years ago, HP, eMachines, Gateway, Acer, those brands, and some Dells. I mean, there's a few Dells out there, not all models, but some Dells even. You could upgrade them pretty easily to keep them relevant. That's because they followed the ATX standard, meaning the motherboards they used in many cases were micro ATX. They followed a standard to where if the motherboard failed, you could actually go out and purchase a retail micro ATX motherboard with the same CPU socket, or if you just wanted to start out from scratch on a new system, you could actually go out to Newegg or Amazon. Well, Newegg would be a more common choice back in the day, to purchase a new motherboard, a new CPU, RAM, all the good stuff, and you could just totally rebuild the system and keep it relevant. So I'll show you an example of a computer I've done that to here shortly, to an extent. But newer OEM systems from all the major brands, it's sad to say, but it's getting to where they are not following standards. And it's been going on for quite a few years now. I want to say probably since 2014, 2015, 2016, those years. Of course, Dell has been kind of doing their own thing for years, but now even HP and other brands are kind of doing it too. Whereas the motherboard, for example, is not a typical like micro ATX motherboard. It's more of a proprietary form factor that you can't just find an off-the-shelf replacement. And also, some OEMs started using their own power supply unit designs instead of using, for example, an ATX style power supply like this here. They are now using a 12 volt only style supply. And no, I'm not talking about ATX 12VO. ATX 12VO is hopefully something that'll get OEMs back on track with a standard design to where you can purchase off-the-shelf replacement parts for. The thing is, these newer OEM systems, they're building them cheaper, and usually when they fail, they're basically throwaway. Now, if you really wanted to, you could pull the processor, the RAM, and the hard drive or SSD out, and you could purchase a micro ATX tower case or an ATX tower case and corresponding motherboard that matches up with the processor socket and memory, and you could build your entire system. But it seems like gone are the days of when you could just take your HP and replace the motherboard with, like, let's say, a Gigabyte or an ASRock or an Asus board and all that good stuff. And also, like, for example, as I mentioned with the power supply, these newer computers are using this proprietary 12 volt only power supply. Again, not ATX 12VO, but their own version of ATX 12VO, to where if the power supply unit fails, you have to go back to Dell or HP or whoever for a replacement, and they can charge you whatever they want for that replacement supply that may be of questionable quality. I'll be honest with you. So a lot of what I have done over the years for customers and clients is I would take in existing computers, either OEM systems that they bought new, or ones that I sold them many years back as a refurbished model, and I would upgrade. I would do a platform upgrade on them. I would take out what was original, and for example, I've upgraded a whole fleet of OEM systems using the new at the time Ryzen 3 2200G platform. It was a simple drop-in upgrade where you could even keep the existing OEM power supply in it because it was such an efficient setup. You could just drop it right in, and you basically had a new computer performance-wise compared to that Pentium 4 or that Athlon 64. And I mean, the computers back then, and you've seen on my channel, I'm sure you've seen many systems like, for example, the Sleeper HP that has the Core 2 Quad in it. That was a total system rebuild using some OEM parts, but I mean, the idea is the older cases, they were pretty much, they followed the standard. You could drop in a replacement motherboard if you want to upgrade your system. But now, with OEM systems, you're pretty much stuck with, well, I guess whatever their design. And the thing is, when their motherboards or whatever fail, or something goes drastically wrong with the computer, you're pretty much just throwing it out. Whereas, with an older OEM system, you could just replace the motherboard and power supply and that good stuff. So, the good news is, while the OEMs are kind of doing their own thing and stuff like this nowadays, you can still have your desktop PC that is easily upgradable because it follows the ATX standard. And that is if you go with retail components and have it custom built. Either you build it yourself, which is actually pretty fun and not terribly hard to do, or you could have a PC shop do it for you. The thing is, if you go that route and have your own system built, or build it yourself, you now have a computer that is still following the standards that OEM computers from 15, 20 years ago were following. So, when you've had that computer for 7 to 10 years and you decide you want a newer system, you ain't got to replace the whole entire computer. Now, I can't see what's going to happen 10 to 15 years down the road. Who knows? We might be using a whole different platform. But, I mean, you think about it, ATX, the standard's been out, it came out in the mid-90s, and it's been commonly used since the late 90s. And, of course, while computer cases have evolved over years, mainly ports and also ventilation to handle much hotter running hardware, the standard has not really changed that much. So, for example, again, the Ryzen systems I was just talking about, micro ATX motherboard with a Ryzen 3 2200G or Ryzen 5 2400G, just drop it right in with new RAM and of course new hard drive and stuff like that. It was getting extra life out of an older system. Now, I've done this several times actually, but nowadays you pretty much have to go with a custom build. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and show you an example of an OEM system that has been upgraded quite a bit. Okay, so here we're looking at an E-Machines tower from the mid-2000s. Go ahead and take the side panel so we can see inside. E-Machines back then, especially the ones from 2002 to 2005, they were pretty well known for having motherboard issues due to the power supply failing and take out the motherboard. So they weren't the most reliable, but on the flip side, they were so easy to upgrade. And that's because they followed the ATX standard. So the motherboard's in there is actually an E-Machines OEM board, but it's actually from a newer E-Machines system. And the power supply up there is not, that label does not reflect what's actually in the case. That's actually a power supply unit I rebuilt myself. But we got a SATA hard drive in there. We got the stock IDE drives up top. The only thing I don't like about the E-Machines from this era is the face plates they use are kind of, well, you can change them over if you do buy the same brand of drive. Generally, that's the case. I mean, it's possible, but the newer E-Machine systems, they went to using a standard style drive with the faceplate integrated into the front bezel. But other than that, I mean, these cases, they're really solid. They were a good candidate back in the mid to late 2000s because motherboards back then were still supplying at least one IDE bus for the CD and DVD drives. And of course, you could drop in newer SATA hard drives at the time. These were a very good candidate for a custom build back then, especially if your E-Machine system just if the Bestech ATX 2V12E power supply just killed the motherboard. Well, you had a good candidate there for for a new build. So either either yourself or a custom builder could drop in a new motherboard, CPU, RAM, hard drive, power supply, all that good stuff, and get you by for another probably 5 to 10 years. So another example, to go into the closet here. Well, of course, it's got stuff piled up on it. But this here is what I call the Sleeper HP. It's a Intel Core 2 Quad Q6600. And it's also got a GTX 450 graphics card in it. So these HPs from 2004, that's when this HP was from, either 2003 or 2004. Matter of fact, the Pavilion cases as well as the Compact Presario cases from that era up through 2010 or a little later were actually great candidates for rebuilds, especially the ones that had the micro ATX motherboards oriented upside down, kind of like BTX. Those were great candidates for rebuilds because they would accept pretty much any kind of off-the-shelf hardware. But I mean, of course, the times have changed. Down here we got an Acer Veriton tower, and these were absolutely fantastic systems for rebuilds. They had really nice cases. Now I'm not going to open this one up here in the video, but this case down here actually has a tool-free design. All the drives, at least I know the hard drives, the internal 3.5-inch bays are tool-free. And you could actually put the full hard disk drives in this micro ATX tower. That's kind of unheard of for this form factor. These were really nice towers for rebuilds. Okay, so while I don't have any much newer OEM systems to show you, I do happen to have some Ultravox 390 systems in the floor over here. They mostly follow the ATX standard, except the cases don't have the proper connections for the front panel headers and stuff like that, so they wouldn't be a good candidate. But I'm going to show y'all some really good examples. Although I don't have any here to show you in this video, I'm going to put some links up there for you to have a look at, because matter of fact, these two examples are from Dell, and it comes to show just how horrible OEM computer build quality has gotten. It's gotten really bad. I mean, it's gotten really, really bad. And for the price that you pay for those computers, you could perhaps, or maybe a little more, you could have a good quality system custom built that will last you a long time. In the event that something does go wrong, it's not proprietary. You can just order a new motherboard, or if you want to upgrade the system, you ain't got to replace the entire computer. You still have a good case to use, provided down the road, if the standards stay the same, you'll be able to upgrade that system, which I don't really think ATX is going anywhere anytime soon, but who knows. Anyways, that's just an example of why, if you're going to go the desktop route, nowadays you're better off going with a custom built computer from a shop, or building it yourself. Have some fun, build it yourself. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Well everybody, that wraps it up for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Computer Channel, and be sure to tick that bell so you'll get notified when new videos are posted. Also, don't forget, I have a whole lot of other interesting videos here on the channel to check out. And also, in addition, I have a second channel, CubeComp MTDX, where I have all sorts of other videos not exactly related to technology. Links to the channels are available at the end of this video. Again, I thank you for your support, and thanks for watching this video.